Molo Sanbonani, hello, how's it, and good morning. Welcome to another episode of Vuka Nazo, only on the Big Daddy Liberty Show. My name is Usihle Ngobese, aka Big Daddy Liberty. Remember, here you come for the headlines and that compelling analysis that will help you start your news day. Remember, before we begin, hit that like button and don't forget to hit subscribe, especially if you're watching this on YouTube, and also hit that bell notification so that you're notified every time we post. You can also find us at www.bigdaddyliberty.com. Now, let's get straight into the news. And we begin in news out of Durban. Yesterday, Monday, was a very rough start if you are a motorist or a commuter in that part of the world, when taxi drivers effectively blocked roads in Durban, causing quite a bit of mayhem in the CBD and surrounding areas. Now, their grievances perhaps are quite justified in the sense that they're taking exception and issue with government officials who are not timeously issuing operating permits, the very things that allow them to operate legally as taxi entrepreneurs. And at the same time, that same administration is coming down heavy-handedly via what they call Operation Shanela in terms of impounding their vehicles for not having, you guessed it, operating permits. Now, I get that grievance and it makes sense, but what doesn't and should not be condoned is the rampant chaos and lawlessness that their protest inspired yesterday, and which, again, for a city like Durban, a scarred city like Durban, given last year's July riots, should not be the sort of scenes that we see. Here's the thing, and here's the bottom line. Government officials, government transport officials in that part of in the world need to get their act together and equally respond to the grievances that various sectors have before they boil over into scenes that we saw yesterday. Why should things always be a fight? And in other news, the Justice Minister, that's a one Ronald Lamola, literally yesterday gave a briefing on the various extradition processes that his department and of course the National Prosecuting Authority are currently busy with. One interesting one, of course, was of a certain Atul Kumar Gupta and Rajesh Kumar Gupta, the Gupta brothers, who fled the country, of course, and found themselves hiding out in Dubai. Now, you guys will know that South Africa had applied for the extradition of these brothers, and in giving his feedback yesterday, the minister actually said the following. On 18th of July 2022, a request was received from the National Director of Public Prosecutions for the extradition of the Gupta brothers from the UAE back to South Africa to stand trial of charges of, get this, fraud, money laundering in terms of the Prevention of Organized Crime Act, and of course corruption, which is contrary to the Prevention of the Combating of Corrupt Activities Act, close quote. Now, the interesting bit here is the process is underway and the state is busy fighting this. But here's the issue. Don't be dribbled by this. The Guptas, whether they get here or not, is neither here nor there. There is a far bigger internal crisis that the prosecuting authority faces, and that is actually going after those domestic criminals who are involved in various acts with the Guptas who are still in South Africa. Why are we not seeing prosecutions of those individuals? For instance, we saw a billion rand, I think multi-even billion rand Zondo Commission underway, and we haven't really heard anything in real terms of prosecutions, hard prosecutions of individuals implicated in that report. We need to start seeing some real action from the head of the prosecuting authority, Ewan Shamila Batohi, and not these trinkets and random, at times, briefings where really nothing much is being done. Are we going to start seeing some serious prosecutions? That's the question I think I have, and maybe you do too. And in other news, our favorite power utility, Eskom, basically said, hey, load shedding might be imminent because they've lost 2,000 megawatts from their Kriel power station due to mist. Ooh, mist has the power to disturb their power station out in the Kriel power station at the very least. And at the time of recording this, of course, they warned of imminent load shedding. are the excuses not just getting more and more interesting, from rainy weather to wet cold to adverse snapped belts. I remember that also being another issue. It always is a raft of excuses for what is effectively what cannot be papered over as a power utility which is corrupt to the core, unable to service an aging fleet, and of course unable to bring on new power generation because of a bureaucracy and really an inefficient system, which of course brings me to another piece of news linked to this Eskom debacle, which was comments made by the DA's leader, John Steenhuisen, in an address yesterday on how to fix some of these issues. Now, some of these proposals are absolutely brilliant. In fact, some of them included declaring a ring-fenced state of disaster in the electricity sector. Now, on this one, quick bookmark, I'm not in favor of that. It seems the DA has not learned the lesson on what happens when politicians and the state have and give themselves almost unfettered powers, as is the case with states of disaster. But in any event, it continues on with the actual good ideas being allowing well-run municipalities to procure, generate, and store their own electricity. I'm all for that. And then, of course, incentivizing small-scale embedded electricity generators. These and amongst the other raft of proposals made by John Steenhuisen, the leader of the DA. Of course, absolutely, we should support these because, again, the Eskom crisis is no longer a government crisis, but it is a shared crisis. This is why Minister Gordon, who I mentioned in last week's episode of Liberty and Friends, going hat in hand to trade unions like Solidarity, asking them to assist is always going to be a good move. But one of the things we should tolerate less and less is this almost intellectually dishonest game that these statists at Eskom play of saying, oh, this broke down because of some reason or the other, except giving us, of course, the truth, which is it's an aging fleet, and if anything, we should deregulate the damn electricity market and allow the private sector to step in and provide the electricity. Only competition and markets will bring down the prices and make sure that load shedding is a thing of the past. But what are your thoughts on that? All right, that's it from me today on the second episode of Vuka Nazo, waking up with the morning headlines and analysis from me, Big Daddy Liberty. What do you think about the show so far? Of course, it will get smoother and it will improve. And your comments, inputs, and feedback is critical to that. So get in touch with us here at the Big Daddy Liberty Show by going to our new website. That's right, our new website at www.bigdaddyliberty.com. And pop us a message, will you? And let us know what you think about the show. And you can also find information there on how you can support the show with a monthly contribution. With that being said, find me on all your social media, and I'll see you tomorrow on another episode of Vuka Nazo.